Welcome to episode 28 of Matthealinity. We're up to Matthew chapter 5, verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, because theirs is the kingdom of the heavens. Matthew has postponed telling us what Jesus is teaching until this point, and it's quite an interesting and difficult thing to interpret. As you can see, it's quite dense. What does the word blessed mean? What does the poor in spirit mean? And what does of them is the kingdom of the heavens mean? So if we just look at this first verse here, so we've got this, the second part is a little bit easier. It's still not easy to interpret. Theirs is the kingdom of the heavens, or of them is the kingdom of the heavens. That's still difficult, but it's not as difficult as the first part. Blessed are the poor in spirit. What do these parts mean? We don't have any interruptions from the disciples asking questions during the Sermon on the Mount. So that would have been helpful, I think. So what we're left with is this long monologue, and we've got the context of the whole book of Matthew to help us, and we've got the context of what are the verses before and after, and the question is, can we find an exegetical interpretation? Because we could find a biblical interpretation. We could come up with a biblical interpretation, and most of the commentaries do a pretty good job at coming up with a biblical interpretation or a theological interpretation, which is not just relying on biblical precedents and other biblical texts, but relying on other church teachings and other traditional interpretations that have been handed down. But the question for me as a scholar of Matthew is, can we come up with an exegetical interpretation? An interpretation that emerges from the text itself. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the biblical interpretations or the theological interpretations. There could be very good theological interpretations that people are offering, but my task is exegesis. Can we come up with an exegetical interpretation where we can demonstrate this is what it means, demonstrate it from the text itself using the logic of the text? One thing that seems to be clear is that Jesus is commending those who are impoverished in spirit. Why is Jesus honoring such people? Well, the reason is given in the second part. Because of them, or for them, is the kingdom of the heavens. There's this connection, amazing connection between the kingdom of the heavens and people such as these. It belongs to them, or it is them, or it rules them in a way that shows that they are definitely in the kingdom. Whatever this second part means, it's clear that this really is the reason for honoring such people. It's a very impressive reason. This is the sort of paradoxical nature of these sayings. We've got a whole list of these sayings. This is just the first one. They tend to get a little bit easier as we go along. When I say they get easier as we go along, I mean easier for us to understand at least what it seems to be saying. Not necessarily easier to know what to do with it. Okay, so as I keep collecting evidence from Matthew, hopefully I'll be able to present the evidence over the next few weeks for an exegetical interpretation of each of the beatitudes. Starting with the first and probably the most difficult one of all. Blessed are the poor in spirit, because the kingdom of the heavens is over them.